when we talk about it, who is to blame for the Bengals' struggles this year? Um, I know some people want to put on, oh, Joe Burrow's injured. They want to put it on whatever the reason is. But when it comes down to it, Joe Burrow has been pretty subpar this whole season. And when I said a couple years ago the Bengals weren't going to make the playoffs, I was maybe a little bit early on that, but I saw some things I think that if they don't fix now, it's going to be um, detrimental to the Bengals franchise. I say that because Joe Burrow played in a system where he can just he had great protections at LSU. I mean, great protection at LSU, and he can sit back and pass. There wasn't really much reading that he had to really, go through. This is a quarterback right now that everyone's saying is one of the best quarterback in the league, and Russell Wilson is overrated. But he's at 57%, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, a 69 quarterback rating. If any other quarterback was doing that, regardless of the injury or not, they get throttled. They wouldn't blame Burrow. Burrow has 3 receivers who've had 1,000 yards on his squad: Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. Now, I'll talk about Jamar Chase, but you're essentially looking at the highest paid quarterback in the NFL right now, and he's playing like this. Who are you guys going to blame now outside Joe Burrow? I do think that the complexity of the routes and the route concepts are something that could be better. But you got to focus on defense. The defense couldn't stop Derrick Henry. They couldn't stop the Titans. But Joe Burrow has to put some pressure on the other team's offense. They have to put some pressure on the defense. They had their first down in the third quarter. That's how bad it is. And it wasn't like Joe Burrow didn't have opportunities to make plays. Some of the times he was getting sacked. It was 2nd and 5, and he had check down open. Throw your check down. Don't get greedy. Take what the defense is giving you. And the game, it's not the fact that the game is too fast for Joe Burrow. He worked in a good offense that fit well for him. And we've seen Joe Burrow make great plays. Him being able to stand in the pocket and throw the ball with a comfortable pocket, we know he's one of the best. But when the pocket's starting to break down, defense is shifting and moving, we start to see Joe Burrow start to hold the ball a little bit longer and get sacked. You saw in this game, he was sacked. He was sacked 3 times this game. He's been sacked 8 times this year. Every game he got sacked. I'm not going to go over QB hits, but for Joe Burrow, he has to be better than how he's performing if he wants to hold true to his quarterback. And the fancy people or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But regardless of that, the most important thing is he playing sound football? Is he comfortable in this offense? Can you protect him? Can he call his own protections? Right? You can't say a quarterback is elite until he's calling his own protections. If you look at Matt Stafford, and look what he's doing. He's communicating with the center as well too, and the offensive line as well too. All right. So some of the best quarterbacks in the game do this, and this is not what he does. And I said this a long time ago. Joe Burrow's not saying the Bengals are done, but he's got to be elite at a quarterback if we're going to give him that status. Now Jamar Chase, he has to do better at running the route tree. All right, all he'll give is slant, stop, and a go from him. All right, he has to be better at finding spots in the zone, being a big target for Joe Burrow, and this is one thing that I think is stunning his true trajectory of eliteness as a receiver in this league, outside of just catching jump balls and running slants. So I think the Bengals have a lot to work on. I'm not saying that they're done. They do have a tougher schedule than most teams. Their schedule, now is the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the 49ers, the Bills, and the Texans, the Ravens, the Steelers. So they have some inter-squad games, inter-division games, and then you got the 49ers and Bills. So you got some tough games coming up, and it's more or less what momentum can you gain before those games? Can you beat the Cardinals? Can you beat the Seahawks? Going into the 49ers, Bills, and Texans game, 49ers and Bills game, with some momentum will be ideal. You don't want to go in flat in those games because if your confidence is shot, I'm telling you, you don't pack the best punch you can pack. So we'll see what happens with the big ones though. We'll see what happens with the big ones though.